God bless YouTube FB. And this is the second edition of Testimony Tuesdays. I shared last week, and basically, my hope is that testimony of what God is doing in my life will encourage somebody out there, and also want to encourage you to do the same. You don't have to use a video. You could write a blog, or you could just have a conversation with a friend or someone you know who's going through something. And this is inspired by Revelation 12:11 that reads, "They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death." Um, and we go through things. We don't shrink from death, and there's different ways of dying. There's literal dying, but sometimes we die to ourselves. We carry a cross. A lot of Christianese. Hopefully, some of you out there get it, understand what that means. But basically, you know what? We persevere in this life. We don't live for ourselves. We live for God. And as we do that, we're going to come across trials and temptations and problems and issues and trouble and all these things. But we overcome through our faith. And when we get to the other side of that trial, there's more going to come, but we overcome that trial. And we share with other people like, hey, this is what God did in my life, and encourages them. And that's how we continue to overcome. All right. This is my story. It's tied to 9/11. 9/11, basically, in 2001 is when I became a born-again Christian. I became sensitive to the fact that I was a sinner, that I wasn't ready to meet God had I been in those towers. And I started this journey of discovering who God was in my life. And ever since that time, for the most part, 9/11 was almost like an anniversary, a birthday for me, so to speak, where I celebrated, a new beginning, becoming a born-again Christian. Um, but this last year and a half or so, I was overcoming deep clinical depression, and I'm in a great place now. Not perfect, but I definitely overcame that hurdle. But for the last 3 months, for some reason, every time I would look at the clock, and I'm not a clock looker by any means, I don't really watch time. Um, Almost every time I looked at the clock, 2 times a day, almost every day it would say 9/11 on it, and I was like, is this a sign? Is something bad going to happen? Just because of that trigger of the depression I have went through had a lot to do with overcoming fear. um, but something beautiful happened. 9/11 came, 2015, and it wound up being an awesome day, an unusually awesome day. My wife usually works on Friday. She had off. I had off. We got to spend the entire day together. My mother wound up having my stepdad's men's group at her place, so she had to be out. So she offered to watch the kids. So I essentially had the whole day with my wife, and it wound up being a awesome healing time. We got to go see War Room, which is a great movie I recommend to anybody. And at the end of the day, as I just paused to celebrate and thank God for the grace to get through the day, that 9/11 went off without a hitch and no problems, no issues like I feared, God was reminding me that what might be crisis for everybody else, God could still work redemption in me, and He has, and He's going to continue to be good to me. So ever since that time, I look at 9/11, it continues to be a reminder of God's grace and His love and His protection, that He has my back, and He's reminding me that, hey, 9/11 is still a special time for you, and it's still the reminder of a new beginning, His protection, His salvation. So I just hope that encourages somebody out there today. Maybe you're afraid of something else, whatever it is. My son's school principal, she says all the time, lean into the pain or lean into the discomfort. And more often than not, there's always a blessing on the other side. So whatever you're afraid of, I pray that you're encouraged to persevere, just to face your fears and meet God in the midst of them and see how He shows up. All right? God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your Testimony Tuesday. Peace.